What's going on, guys? Bengal again here, coming back at you with another video, and today we are back doing another mock draft. Now, the interesting thing about this one, first of all, it is 2 rounds. If that's what you're here for, you're gonna get it. Free agency is in full swing, fully underway. There are many moves that have happened that change team needs for certain teams, obviously. But then again, just because a team signed a certain player at a position doesn't mean that's not a position they're not going to target in the draft. For example, the Bears, they signed Robert Quinn. Could they still draft an edge rusher? Yeah. Maybe not the best example. I think more with the Bills signing Mario Addison. They could still draft an edge rusher, and they probably will inside the top 3 rounds. So just because your team signed a player at a position doesn't mean that hole is filled. They could definitely still take a player in the draft at that position. Hope that makes sense. It should, but it's YouTube. You never really know. 2 rounds off the top of the brain. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. I'll try to explain each pick as I go along. I also don't want this video to be an hour long, so some of the explanations might be quicker than others, like the first one. Joe Burrow to the Bengals. Bengals need a quarterback very badly. Joe Burrow is presumably the best one in the draft. Had a great season at LSU, has some of the best pocket footwork and mobility in the class. Great touch and overall accuracy. Pretty solid arm. Nothing crazy in terms of arm strength like we'll see with maybe a Justin Herbert or a Jordan Love, but definitely overall I think the best QB in this class on day one. Tua is not that far behind, but I think we give it to Joe Burrow. Number 2, we have the Redskins. I think I'd be surprised if this was anything other than Chase Young. Yeah, is there an outside shot for them to take a QB just because new head coach Ron Rivera, maybe he wants this guy, maybe he doesn't love Dwayne Haskins? I think Dwayne Haskins was fantastic the second half of the season. He got better as the season went on by a lot with no real talent around him. So I really think that they're going to stick with Dwayne Haskins. And if they do that, Chase Young is the best player in the entire class. So the Redskins get a great player, great value at number 2. At number 3, I think the Lions are going to take Jeff Okudah out of Ohio State, trade away Darius Slay to the Eagles. Yeah, they brought in Desmond Trufant. That doesn't solve anything. That doesn't really solve problems. They need a corner anyway, even with Darius Slay. Bringing in a worse corner than Darius Slay significantly in Desmond Trufant doesn't solve their cornerback issues at all. So Jeff Okudah to the Lions. My favorite team, the Giants, at number 4. Now, I would love for this to be Isaiah Simmons. I'm not going to lie to you. And the Giants did sign a tackle in free agency. I still think they have huge tackle issues. I still think they're going to draft a tackle, and we're going to give him Mekhi Becton out of Louisville. Good player, big guy, mauler, absolute menace in run blocking. He's a really fun offensive lineman to watch, which is a rarity. But at 6'8", 370 pounds, he can move the way he does. I mean, you can understand why. At number 5, we have the Miami Dolphins. I'm going to give them Tua Tagovailoa. No trades in this one, by the way, either. This is just straight chalk. For the sake of continuity, we're going to keep it just the exact draft order. Chargers at number 6. Now, they didn't get Tom Brady, but they were in on the quarterback sweepstakes. Does that mean they would take a quarterback here at number 6? Now, they've made some big moves in free agency that I liked quite a bit, as did the Dolphins. But the Chargers, they franchise tagged Hunter Henry. I think that was absolutely the right move. They brought in Linval Joseph at defensive tackle. I mean, they've really made some moves to upgrade their team. At right tackle, brought in Brian Bulaga. I mean, they're out here, and they're playing to win. I like what the Chargers have done. They still need quarterback. Tyrod Taylor, I don't think is the answer there in Los Angeles. I think we're going to give him a quarterback. We're going to give him Justin Herbert. Panthers at number 7. Signed Teddy Bridgewater. They are out of the quarterback sweepstakes. They would not take Jordan Love here. I think it's between Isaiah Simmons and Derek Brown. We're going to give him Isaiah Simmons, the most versatile player in the entire draft, can line up anywhere on the field. Probably going to play him as their inside linebacker. That's their Luke Kuechly replacement. Still wild that he retired. That's like not even a story anymore. That was a huge spur of news, and then because of all these crazy things that have happened lately in both the world and the NFL, it's been swept under the rug completely. Luke Kuechly retired. They need a replacement on the inside. Cardinals traded for DeAndre Hopkins. Does that mean they still don't draft, or they still would draft a wide receiver? I'm not sure. We're going to give him a tackle, and it's going to be Jedrick Wills out of Alabama. Can come in and start day one, probably at right tackle for them. They have DJ Humphries on the left side. They signed him to a big extension. Jedrick Wills makes a lot of sense. Tristan Wirfs, for the same reasons, could make a lot of sense. I think Alaric Jackson played left tackle mainly at Iowa. I think Tristan Wirfs was on that right side mainly. Really good player. Also has some guard flexibility. But we're going to give him Jedrick Wills. Jaguars at number 9. They made some moves, brought in Joe Schobert, but have also traded away Calais Campbell. Yannick Ngakoue is on his way out. This is a team that needs to take best player available. Probably isn't a receiver. It's probably either a cornerback or an edge rusher. It could be Derek Brown as well. I wouldn't mind that on the inside. So, you know what? Let's go ahead. Let's give him Derek Brown. That's their potential Calais Campbell replacement. I know Calais Campbell played a lot on the edge, slid inside a lot. They've had their defensive line completely dismantled. Derek Brown at least fixes that a little bit, or it works towards fixing it. Brown's at number 10. This has to be a tackle, you'd think, but then they brought in Jack Conklin. He's their new right tackle of the future. So they're looking for their left tackle, or they go a different position entirely. I think they've got to go tackle here. And we're going to go with one of the best blindside protectors in the draft. That is Andrew Thomas at left tackle for Baker Mayfield, someone that can come in and start right away. You have Jack Conklin at right side, Andrew Thomas on the left. Perfect combo. The Browns' tackle issues completely resolved in one offseason. Great for them. Jets at number 11. They have the option to take any receiver they want. CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs. I'm going to give him who I believe to be the best receiver in the draft, and that is Jerry Jeudy. At number 11. And then the Raiders, they have their choice. Henry Ruggs or CeeDee Lamb. I'm giving them receiver. They brought in 2 linebackers in free agency. That's no longer really a position of need for them. So we have Corey Littleton. We have Nick Kwiatkowski from the Rams and the Bears, respectively. We're giving them wide receiver or cornerback here. Linebacker, no longer an issue. But based on where they are on the board, they're going wide receiver. We're giving them CeeDee Lamb out of Oklahoma. 49ers have made a trade up to 13 with the Indianapolis Colts sending DeForest Buckner to Indy. They need corner. They need wide receiver. How about someone that can stretch the field in a huge way? Really, really deep quarterback class, or excuse me, wide receiver class. But you figure that because they moved up to 13 with the Colts, because they chose the Colts as that trade partner, they're looking for one of the best receivers in the class. They're maybe a little bit unlucky that the top 2 went off the board, but they get an excellent consolation prize in who is a stud receiver out of Alabama in Henry Ruggs III. Someone that can stretch the field, someone that's a great route runner with very good hands. Henry Ruggs is a great player. He is not just all speed. This is not a John Ross guy. This is a guy that is much better than John Ross, and he's probably not going to go inside the top 10. John Ross was a good route runner at Washington, by the way. Just the hands weren't really there. The deep ball tracking was iffy at times, but injuries were his main problem. Henry Ruggs doesn't really have any of those concerns. Can jump out the gym, can fly, absolute athlete. Insane prospect, and the 49ers get him at number 13. Is that your good trade, DeForest Buckner, defensive tackle, for maybe someone that impacts the game a little bit more in a wide receiver? I think it's a fair trade. 49ers get themselves a stud. Buccaneers at number 14. They need to protect Tom Brady. Tristan Wirfs is a very easy selection here. Really, really solid player. Also, flexibility to play all over the line, or at least at guard and tackle. You wouldn't really need him to play guard with Ali Marpet. Alex Kappa is not a stud at right guard. I think that's probably going to be their starter in this next year, but they need desperately a tackle. Donovan Smith is not it. DeMar Dotson is old and not it anymore. Tristan Wirfs is a good player. Bucks get him at number 14 to go with Tom Brady. How unreal is that still? Broncos at number 15. They made a trade for A.J. Bouye. I still don't think they take cornerback because they have corners. Even with Chris Harris going, I think there's an outside shot to take a corner with this pick, but I think more than likely it's either offensive line or wide receiver. C.J. Henderson does make some sense, but this is just such a weird spot because the top offensive linemen are off the board. The top 3 receivers are off the board. Do they reach a little bit for a receiver? And maybe Justin Jefferson, keep Laviska Shenault in Colorado. Do they go offensive tackle? It'd be a pretty big reach for Josh Jones at this point, but tackles are flying off the board. I wouldn't be super surprised. I don't think Lucas Niang or Austin Jackson are really in this range, although I think that both of them could sneak into the first round. They made a trade for Jarrell Casey, so they improved the interior of that defensive line. Broncos made a lot of big moves this free agency. I think John Elway did a pretty good job overall. I'm not going to lie to you. So maybe they do take a cornerback based on who's available. Maybe they take C.J. Henderson. We're going to give him to him. Just based on who's available, you have best player available in that situation. And in a deep receiver class, you address receiver in round 2. I don't hate that. Falcons on the clock here. Now, they just signed Todd Gurley today as I record this and as you watch this, hopefully. They cut Desmond Trufant. They need cornerback very, very badly. Very badly. They also need IDL. They need edge. They need all the positions that you see. These team needs are very fair because they have got almost nothing at corner. Isaiah Oliver. On the inside, they have Grady Jarrett. That's it. And on the edge, they lost Vic Beasley, who was unproductive anyway. They have nothing. This is best player available on the defensive side of the ball for the Falcons. And who do you think is going to impact the game in the biggest way? That's probably an edge rusher. So we're going to give him K'Lavon Chaisson out of LSU. Freak athlete, has a lot of tools. We'll have to see how he develops in the NFL. Cowboys at number 17. Thought maybe IDL was a big need, and it is. But they got Gerald McCoy. It's not the biggest need in the world for them anymore. So they can take, corner, because they lost Byron Jones to free agency. He's headed to Miami. They could go edge as well. They lost Robert Quinn. He's going to Chicago. I think we go cornerback here. We're going to Christian Fulton out of LSU. Back-to-back LSU defenders on that national championship team go in the draft. Dolphins back on the clock at number 18. They are picking. Already have gone quarterback here. This is another situation where you probably go best available. They brought in a center in free agency, so that's definitely not a need. And this is probably about as early as you would consider taking an interior offensive lineman in this class. They brought in Byron Jones to play corner. Corner becomes immediately a much smaller need. They pair him with Xavier Howard. Not a bad combo at all. They brought in Jordan Howard to play running back. You can wait on running back. I still think they probably take a running back in this class, but not in the first round. So this is another situation where you go best player available. Who can impact the game the most for the Dolphins? I think we might go tackle here. Could be the best safety. They're parting ways with Rashad Jones. They don't really have much in the way of a safety. Maybe this is a safety spot for him, but we're going to give him best player available, and I think it's going to be Javon Kinlaw. Fantastic athlete. He's unbelievable. Really, really good player. I know they took defensive tackle very recently in the first round in Christian Wilkins, but Javon Kinlaw at this stage, based on the way this class is shaping up, I think too good to pass on. We're giving him to the Dolphins at 18. They've had good free agency so far, and Kinlaw is going to help improve that team even more. Can never have too many defensive linemen. Raiders back on the clock. This is a tough one. Could go wide receiver again here, honestly. I know that sounds like a little ridiculous. I know they have Tyrell Williams, Hunter Renfrow in the slot. I think they could go wide receiver again here. I think it's unlikely. I think we address the cornerback position. They need it very badly. Missed out on Byron Jones, who they're going after. We're getting him Jeff Gladney out of TCU. Physical corner, plays with good speed. I like Jeff Gladney a lot. I was shocked he wasn't a first-round caliber player by the media for a while now. Watching him at TCU this past year, he was one of the only good players defensively in the entire Big 12. No, that's obviously a ridiculous statement, but he was certainly the best DB in the Big 12, I think you could say. At least cornerback. There's some good safeties. I mean, I'm partial to my guy Caden Stearns out of Texas, big Texas fan. But Jeff Gladney, best cornerback last year, I think, very easily in the Big 12. Jaguars at number 20. We have given them interior defensive line in Derek Brown. That was another best player available sort of situation. They need cornerback very, very badly. They do. But we're going to give them Xavier McKinney out of Alabama. They get a really, really solid player there to go on the back end. It's a weird situation, but free agency has changed a lot of things. And I think based on the way the Jags have completely kind of stripped apart their team, they have to look to build up through the draft. And just BPA is almost never a bad option. It really isn't. Eagles at number 21. They've had a very interesting free agency. They don't take a cornerback here. They brought in Darius Slay. Is cornerback still a need for them? Yes. Is linebacker still a need for them? Absolutely, linebacker's a need. You could go best linebacker available. You could go wide receiver, but in a deep receiver class, I think you pass up on receiver and you go with the best linebacker available. It's either Patrick Queen or Kenneth Murray. Patrick Queen is my draft crush here. I love Patrick Queen. I would hate to see him go to the Eagles here, but I think he has that type of athleticism and that side-to-side or sideline-to-sideline ability, zone coverage ability that the Eagles will absolutely covet. They've got a great defensive line, so maybe they can say, all right, we can take the better pure tackler in Kenneth Murray. We don't really need the zone coverage, but I think Patrick Queen is too good to pass up on here. I hate that that's happening. I love Darius Slay, and I hate the Eagles, and he's an Eagle now. I love Patrick Queen, and he's an Eagle now in this mock draft. Vikings at number 22. Now, they did a weird thing. They franchise tagged Anthony Harris. I was surprised by that. Apparently, they're still trying to trade him. They cut Linval Joseph to save cap space. He was a cap casualty. They've made some interesting moves. The Vikings are kind of a disaster. They traded away Stephon Diggs. They could go wide receiver here, but again, in a deep receiver class, I'm not sure that's what you do. They could take the interior of the offensive line, go with the best guard. We've seen 0 of those players go so far. So I wouldn't be exactly shocked to see that happen. What do we do? What do we do if we're the Minnesota Vikings? Wide receiver is such a big need. It really is. They need wide receivers so bad. Adam Thielen and who else? Olabisi Johnson? Is that their number 2 now? That's brutal. That's a brutal combo. They don't have anything at cornerback. They lost Trey Waynes. I don't think they go Trayvon Diggs. There's no way they want another Diggs on their team after Stephon. But Mike Zimmer loves his corners. We're going to give him a big corner who plays physical. That's what Mike Zimmer likes. A.J. Terrell out of Clemson goes to the Vikings at number 22. Patriots on the clock at number 23, losing Tom Brady. What do they do here? Is Jarrett Stidham ready to take over and be their QB of the future? I don't think so. I guess there's still a chance that they sign Jameis Winston or somebody like that, or maybe even bring in Cam Newton. So this mock draft could change a lot the next time we bring one out. But I'm going to give them Jordan Love. They get their potential Patrick Mahomes-esque player. Obviously, that's a huge ceiling to live up to. Much lower floor, obviously. But Jordan Love has all the potential in the world. I think in the coaching and in that New England system, Jordan Love could be absolutely unbelievable. He goes to the Patriots, number 23. At number 24, I thought that interior offensive line was a huge need for the Saints. Maybe not when they would take in the first round, but they just re-signed Andrews Pete to a 5-year, $57 million extension. What are you doing? Andrews Pete is terrible. He's terrible. You needed to upgrade him badly. You didn't do it. Instead, you re-signed him to a huge extension. I don't know what you're doing. But this is wide receiver or linebacker here, in my opinion. And they need somebody else other than Michael Thomas. Now, this is a deep receiver class. It really, really is. I don't love Justin Jefferson to the Saints just because I think he's too similar in what he brings to the table with Michael Thomas in terms of not necessarily being able to stretch the field at an elite level. I like Justin Jefferson. I'm just saying I think they would benefit from someone with more elite deep speed, like a Jalen Reagor, like a KJ Hamler, like even a Denzel Mims. Even though he's got that unbelievable size, he's got some elite deep track speed. I'm just not convinced they go wide receiver here. So we're going to go linebacker. We're going to give him Kenneth Murray out of Oklahoma. Vikings back on the clock with their actual pick. Of course, number 22 was from the Buffalo Bills trade as Stephon Diggs went over to Buffalo. We took corner at number 22. We're going to give him wide receiver here, and this is just purely best wide receiver available. I think it is Justin Jefferson. I agree with the draft rankings from the Draft Network. So we're going to give him Justin Jefferson there. And the Dolphins are back on the clock for the third time. We've given them Javon Kinlaw. We've given them Tua Tagovailoa. I think a lot of people might disagree with the Kinlaw pick. I think that's best player available. I don't hate that at all. Improve your defensive line. Get a great player in there. But what did the Dolphins take here? This is a tough call for me. I think this is another real best player available situation. And I think that Grant Delpit would make a lot of sense to me. But we're going to go offensive tackle. We're going to give him Josh Jones out of Houston. Improve that offensive line for your new QB. Josh Jones played left tackle at Houston. there's no saying he couldn't be your blindside protector and move over to right tackle, which is odd to say. But Tua's a lefty quarterback. He's a rarity. So maybe they put your best tackle on that right side instead. So maybe Josh Jones is a little more valuable. Maybe they take a more true right tackle. I'm not even sure. But I don't hate this pick at all. It's a good offensive line upgrade. Seahawks at number 27. Losing Jadeveon Clowney, maybe. Still don't know what's happening with him. The Seahawks are in an interesting spot. They brought back Bruce Irvin. That certainly does not solve their edge and linebacker issues. This is another situation, best player available. They've ignored offensive linemen at every possible turn. So I guess we're going to do it again because we know the Seahawks don't take offensive linemen in the first round. They just don't do it. We're going to go Yetur Gross-Matos out of Penn State. Upgrade that edge spot, especially if you lose Jadeveon Clowney. Ravens on the clock at 28. Very, very interesting team to talk about because they brought in Calais Campbell. Huge addition to that team. They're trading away Chris Wormley, who was a guy on that defensive line who played a lot of games, or played a lot of snaps, I should say. Michael Pierce is headed to Minnesota. You still have Brandon Williams. Your defensive line is still very, very good. But even though you brought in Calais Campbell, you didn't really upgrade edge all that much. But I still think wide receiver is one of the biggest needs for them. They need a bigger body, and they need another target for Lamar Jackson. And that's going to come in the form of Denzel Mims out of Baylor. He offers great size, 6'3", 206 pounds, great catch radius, and very, very, very fast. Now, route running is a bit of an issue, but you have Hollywood Brown for that. Denzel Mims, he's your jump ball receiver, your deep speed guy as well. Just add more track speed to that team. Lamar Jackson, Hollywood Browns, Denzel Mims, Justice Hill. They've got a lot of speed, and Denzel Mims is a good addition. I think maybe you go edge in the second round, but we'll see. Titans at number 29. You traded away Jarrell Casey. Here's your Jarrell Casey replacement. 3-4 edge, AJ Epineza. 3-4 end, maybe. Because he can play edge. He can slide inside. He's got the size. He's got the strength. Doesn't have top-tier athleticism, but is technically very, very sound. Epineza is a really good player. Titans get themselves a beast at number 29. I know they got Vic Beasley. Vic Beasley doesn't matter. I'm telling you that right now. Packers at number 30. This is Brandon Ayuk, if I've ever seen it. They brought in Ricky Wagner to play right tackle. Do they need tight end? Yeah, we'll address that maybe in the next round. I'm giving them Brandon Ayuk out of Arizona State. Great route runner, great hands, pretty good speed as well. Ayuk's a good player. Aaron Rodgers gets a very, very good player to complement Devontae Adams in that offense. 49ers back on the clock for the second time. We've given them a wide receiver. Their secondary is atrocious. Do we need a cornerback to go alongside Richard Sherman? Yeah, we do. And we're going to give him great size and athleticism in Trayvon Diggs. He fits the 49ers meta of what they're looking for in the secondary. Trayvon Diggs fits really, really well. I like that a lot. And to round out the first round, we have the Chiefs at number 32. The Chiefs have been a team that have been a little bit quiet in free agency because they don't have a ton of money. They franchise tag Chris Jones, maybe a tag and trade guy, but we haven't really heard any legitimate rumors of Chris Jones being traded. So why believe that has to be a thing? No running back so far in the first round. We could bring in a running back, but they need corner, man. Noah Igbenogany, I think, would make a lot of sense here. Could take a look at safety. Grant Delpit is still available. And I think that's going to be too difficult for me to pass up. Grant Delpit at the tail end of the first round. I think he's going to go higher, but I don't know. Grant Delpit's a weird player because he just didn't have an amazing season last year. Questions about maybe some injury concerns and maybe not playing as hard because he didn't, want to get injured before the draft and lower his stock. But I think he lowered his stock with not playing as well as he did his sophomore season or freshman season. I mean, Grant Delpit was a great, great player his first 2 years at LSU and then wasn't amazing last year, even though he won the award for best DB in the nation. Thorpe Award, the Jim Thorpe Award, I believe. Just he wasn't as good as that award. He was the third best DB on that team, behind Christian Fulton, and the rookie freshman, I should say. I'm all over the map right now. In Derek Stingley Jr. He was fantastic. But now we're starting the second round. Bengals at number 33. We've given them Joe Burrow. This team is terrible. However, they did make a move that I like quite a bit in signing DJ Reader. Interior defensive line becomes a much, much lower need. But with Jonah Williams potentially playing this year, huge injury, I think it was a torn pec last year. You get your new starting left tackle, first rounder last year. Do we go offensive line again and protect Joe Burrow and just continue to build that offense? I think we do. We are going to give him Cesar Ruiz has center and guard capabilities, while Lloyd Cushenberry has just been a center. I'm going to give him Cesar Ruiz. Cesar Ruiz to the Bengals. They get an interior offensive lineman. And we know they've liked their Spanish offensive lineman in the past. Anthony Munoz, one of the best tackles in NFL history. There's really no correlation there other than the Spanish name, but he's a good player, so I mean, it works out. Colts at number 34. This is an interesting one because they traded for DeForest Buckner. They lost number 13. They brought in Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers could use some more weapons. We're going to give him a wide receiver here. They have T.Y. Hilton. We're going to give him T. Higgins. So we get T.Y. and T. Get a big receiver there in Indianapolis. Lions on the clock. Another best player available type situation. They got Jeff Okudah. They still need to improve defense very, very badly. It has to be a defender here. It's just, who do we want to give him? I'm thinking Ross Blacklock out of TCU could be a good replacement for Ashawn Robinson and Damon Harrison on that defensive line. So Ross Blacklock is going to be my guy there. Giants on the clock. Again, my favorite team. We've given him a tackle. This is another, I think, best defensive player available situation. It's like, what do I want to give the Giants here? And now, this is something that I had never considered before. The Giants brought in Kyler Fackrell, who is not very good. They brought in Blake Martinez, who's bad. But they brought in James Bradbury at corner. They don't need to go corner here. I think we're going to give him a safety. And the safety that I like the most for the Giants here at 36 is Kyle Duggar out of Lenore-Rhine. Great athleticism, great in coverage, playmaker, has a lot of experience returning kicks. I think for the same reasons that the Giants like Jabril Peppers, they're going to like Kyle Duggar. And Kyle Duggar makes a lot of sense there. That's an interesting pick. See, when you do this just off the top of the head, and you don't really think about any of this advance, and you just kind of evaluate the board as it comes to you, some decisions can surprise you. And Kyle Duggar to the Giants is certainly something that surprises me a lot. I think what I would like the Giants to do is go Isaiah Simmons at 4 and then tackle with his pick at 36 with a guy like Lucas Niang or Austin Jackson. I think that would make a ton of sense, but Kyle Duggar is my pick there. Again, I'm as surprised as you are. 37, we get the Chargers back on the board. They took quarterback earlier in Justin Herbert. They have right tackle. They got Trey Turner. They have right guard and right tackle, sound. They could go left tackle. They brought in Chris Harris Jr. in free agency. Their secondary is fine. Derwin James is coming back healthy. They lost Adrian Phillips. They have Desmond King in the slot. They have a really, really interesting group. Nasir Adderley should be back and healthy this year. He'll actually play a full season at free safety. They've got an elite level secondary, it's looking like. They don't go secondary. Get cornerback off of their top team needs. Now, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, they could use a third receiver very, very badly. Very badly. Jalen Reagor, I think, would be perfect here. But we could go left tackle. This is a tough call for me. I'm gonna give him Lucas Niang out of TCU. We're gonna give him tackle. I think this, even with Brian Bulaga, they still need to upgrade tackle, at least on that left side. They traded away Russell Okung. Lucas Niang at the top of the second round. I like it. Panthers back on the clock. We've given them Isaiah Simmons. That's their versatile linebacker, edge, safety, everything. A nickel corner. Isaiah Simmons is their everything. So they go with best player available, I think, on the defensive side of the ball. Again, they lost James Bradbury. I think this has got to be a cornerback. We're going to give him Noah Igbenogany out of Auburn. They get some speed to replace Bradbury and paired along Dante Jackson. Don't hate it. Dolphins at number 39. They've had a very, very interesting draft so far. We've given them Tua. We've given them Josh Jones. We've given them Javon Kinlaw, best player available. They signed Ted Karras. I don't know that they need to take interior offensive line here. It still is a need. I think this is another situation where the Dolphins, whose lineup is not great, go best player available, and I think they get some lightning to accompany their thunder. And now DeAndre Swift doesn't have necessarily lightning speed, but still is quite fast, and he plays very, very quick. That's what I mean more by the lightning, to accompany Jordan Howard, who I guess would be your thunder. The first running back goes off the board at number 39 to the Miami Dolphins, who I know they signed running back. I still don't think that doesn't mean they take running back. Texans on the clock at 40. Wow, what a disaster of a free agency they've had. What a disaster of an offseason. The Texans have been brutal. How do you trade away DeAndre Hopkins? And how do you trade him away for a 4th-round pick and David Johnson? What are the Texans doing? Nothing good. Nothing good. They don't need running back, that's for sure. We're going to give them something that they covet quite a bit, and that is athleticism, size, and length at the edge rusher position. Terrell Lewis is your Jadeveon Clowney light. So Terrell Lewis going for Bama to the Houston Texans, and they get an edge rusher. Browns back on the clock at number 41. We've given them tackle. It was big need for them. We got them Andrew Thomas out of Georgia. Now they lost Joe Schobert. That's a big loss for them, as he was a starting inside linebacker. They lost Christian Kirksey. They lost Jamie Collins. I know that was like a year ago. He went to New England after that. But the point is that they've lost all their linebackers for the past year or two. Linebacker is a huge need. Now, who is the best one available? I like Malik Harrison out of Ohio State a lot. It's interesting to see him fly up the board. Willie Gay had a great combine. Troy Dye had a great season at Oregon. Akeem Davis-Gaither, former safety, is quite good. Do we give him an Ohio State linebacker? Keep Malik Harrison in state? I don't mind that a ton. I think safety might be a bigger need for them, though. And I gave him Antoine Winfield Jr. last time. I think I'm going to do that again, just because he has a lot of versatility as well. He can kind of move all around. Nickel corner, free safety, strong safety. It's just someone that is versatile, because they're probably losing Demarius Randall in free agency as well. So Antoine Winfield actually is going to be my pick there. Jaguars back on the clock at number 42. Giving him Derek Brown. Giving him Xavier McKinney. They still need corner. They still need edge. I'm between Zach Bond here. And, I mean, that's probably it. Probably Zach Bond. I'm just going to not think about it and just do it. Zach Bond to the Jaguars at 42. Bears on the clock. Interesting. They keep signing tight ends. They got Jimmy Graham for no reason. They drafted Adam Shaheen. They signed Trey Burton. I can't list all their tight ends. I have like 7 or 8 that are signed to their team, and that isn't even a joke. That's the actual number. I don't know what the Bears are doing. They cut Leonard Floyd, which I don't mind that. But then they paid Robert Quinn heavily. Like, he's still elite. I know he had double-digit sacks last year. Stop with the sacks, please. It's more about pressures, and he didn't win consistently enough. Robert Quinn is not elite, and you cannot give him a 5-year deal. What are we doing if we're the Chicago Bears? They traded for Nick Foles, 4th-round compensatory. I mean, it was a weird move, but if he can be better than Trubisky, I guess, why not? And he can probably be better than Mitch Trubisky because it's Mitch Trubisky. Let's be real with ourselves here. He is a huge bust at this point. Terrible player. But what do we give the Bears here? I don't even know. Secondary or offensive line. I think we're going to give them... They don't need center. They have James Daniels. So I'm not going to give them Lloyd Cushenberry. I mean, maybe we do Ashton Davis. Yeah, we're going to give him Ashton Davis. That feels like a classic Chicago Bear style player. And yes, I do mean he's white. Colts at 44. Signed Phillip Rivers. Still have Jacoby Brissett. Brought in, we have wide receiver. We drafted one. Brought in DeForest Buckner. We know that. Do they draft their QB of the future potentially? I think they wait on it. And they go maybe best tight end in the draft. I don't think that's Cole Kmet out of Notre Dame. I like Adam Troutman a lot. I think Bryson Hopkins might be. I love Albert Okwuegbunam. He just doesn't play as fast as he tested. Bryson Hopkins just has everything. That's the size, the athleticism, the route running. I like Bryson Hopkins. I think we're going to give him to the Colts at 44. Another one where I don't love that pick. Don't get me wrong. I don't love it, but it's what we're doing. Bucks back on the clock at 45. We've given them a tackle. Have they done anything at running back? I don't think so. What's the best compliment to Tom Brady? I don't think it's Jonathan Taylor. I know that's their bell cow running back, but I think it's J.K. Dobbins who offers a bit more versatility. So I like that pick. It still improved the offense. Broncos back on the board. This is a wide receiver or an offensive lineman if I've ever seen one. Austin Jackson would make a lot of sense at right tackle for sure. It is a deep receiver class. It really is. But I gave him a cornerback taking best player available at 46. I didn't really want to overdraft anything else and reach down the board. I want to give him an offensive lineman. I really, really do. But I'm going to go Jalen Reagor to complement Courtland Sutton. 49ers. At 47, we got the Falcons. I gave him an edge rusher. I gave him K'Lavon Chaisson earlier, if I'm not mistaken. Again, I think this is the best defensive player available. We're giving Neville Gallimore next to Grady Jarrett. Jets back on. Gave him, I believe, CeeDee Lamb earlier. But they took a wide receiver. Got to improve offensive line. This is Austin Jackson. Welcome to the Jets. Not a bad move. So tackle is solved for them now. I think we can agree. They brought an offensive lineman in free agency a little bit, but offensive tackle and Austin Jackson makes a lot of sense. As the Steelers are on the clock. Franchise tag Bud Dupree. I still don't think that doesn't mean they take edge here. But we're going to give him an interior defensive lineman. They lost Javon Hargrave. We're going to give him Marlon Davidson. I like him more than an edge rusher. He finally has that IDL classification. Finally. I mean, I think anyone who watched him play at Auburn know that this guy's an interior guy with edge flexibility if you had to, like a Calais Campbell. But he's an interior guy. Marlon Davidson, kind of love him to the Steelers at 49. Bears back on the clock at 50. We just gave him Ashton Davis. I think we go with a guard here. And that's going to be... I mean, there's so many centers. We're going to give him Jonah Jackson out of Ohio State. Improve that guard spot for sure. Cowboys at number 51. We lost Byron Jones. Or not we. I hate the Cowboys. I'm not we for the Cowboys. But they lost Byron Jones. They lost Robert Quinn. We're going to give him edge here. And we're going to give him Curtis Weaver. They signed Ha Clinton Dix. Curtis Weaver, I like at 51. Rams on the clock. They brought back Andrew Whitworth. They need to improve defense. They lost Corey Littleton. This is going to be a linebacker, and it's going to be a good zone cover guy that can come in and play just like Corey Littleton did. Jordan Brooks out of Texas Tech. Eagles back up. They took Patrick Queen earlier. This is wide receiver. This is KJ Hamler out of Penn State, someone that they could potentially even take in the first round. Bills at 54. They got Mario Addison. I think this is a corner. We're going to give him... I don't know. This is a corner, actually. Bringing in Stephon Diggs was so huge. They could still take wide receiver. I just think they wait on it a little bit now. I'm actually going to give him edge. I'm going to go Jonathan Grenard out of Florida. Ravens at 55. We gave him a wide receiver. I think we go... Do we go linebacker here? Yeah, they just lost too many. It's Malik Harrison out of Ohio State. They just can't lose potentially Patrick Owasso and have Josh Bynes be their only starting linebacker. Who is the other inside backer that they lost? I know they re-signed Matt Judon. They lost another inside linebacker, and I'm spacing on his name right now. Not Owasso, obviously. They lost... I don't know why I can't think of his name. I'm sure 100,000 people will tell me in the comments. Like, I don't need one person. But Malik Harrison to the Ravens, improve their interior or their inside linebacker group, and improve their linebacking core as a whole. Dolphins back up at number 56. We've given them Tua, Josh Jones, DeAndre Swift, Javon Kinlaw. This, again, I think is best player available. Do we go safety here? I don't love the safeties available. The only one I would consider taking here is really maybe Brandon Jones or Alohi Gilman. I don't love the other options at this range. Haven't gotten a chance to watch Jeremy Chin out of Southern Illinois yet, so I don't feel comfortable mocking him yet. So at 56, do we give him a wide receiver? I wouldn't hate that. I know they have Devontae Parker. Jakeem Grant is a good gadget player. I don't know that he's a real receiver. I know they gave Albert Wilson big money, but he's just not that good. I know they have Preston Williams, who's going to come back in healthy. Maybe we don't go wide receiver here. Do I go tackle again? What do they have at tackle? It's Josh Jones now, and what else? They lost Laramie Tunsil. They needed a right tackle anyway. Maybe we go 2 tackles? I mean, I guess Ezra Cleveland out of Boise State. We're going to give him 2 tackles. Texans back up, gave him an edge rusher earlier in the form of Terrell Lewis. They need wide receiver now. They traded away DeAndre Hopkins. We're going to give him a Donovan Peoples-Jones. They get someone with a bigger size profile than DeAndre Hopkins, who's a better athlete, 6'2", almost probably 6'3", 210, great speed and athleticism overall. And the Vikings are back up at 58. We've given him corner and receiver. This is interior offensive line. We don't want to give him a center, but Lloyd Cushenberry's so good. Matt Hennessy's also a center. All right, we're going to go Lloyd Cushenberry, and he plays guard now. That's just what's going to happen. 59, Seahawks back up. Gave him an edge earlier. Did they finally go offensive line? We're going to give them an offensive lineman. I like Natani Muti here out of Fresno State. I think he's a fantastic guard. Great strength, great ability, and I should be considered as someone draftable in this range. Ravens back up, giving him linebacker just moments ago. This could be interior offensive line. They lost their starting center a few years ago in Ryan Jensen, so why not give him a new starting center in Matt Hennessy out of Temple. Titans back up at number 61, giving him edge rusher already. This is interior defensive line. It's Justin Matabuike out of Texas A&M. Lost Jarrell Casey. There's your replacement. Packers back up. Took wide receiver in Brandon Ayuk at pick number 31. Now they're up at 62. And we'll give them tight end. They lost Jimmy Graham. We'll give them, Adam Troutman, I think, is a great tight end. I'm not sure he works for the Packers as much here. I will give him Cole Kmet. Chiefs at number 63, gave him safety. They still need secondary, but we're going to give him running back here in the form of Jonathan Taylor. I know running backs are falling big time. Seahawks back up. Just gave him offensive line. We are going to go cornerback here and give him Cameron Dantzler. Or we could do Utah and go Jalen Johnson, match him up with the Utah DB and Marquise Blair, who they took last year. That would be kind of fun. Let's do that. Let's give him Jalen Johnson. And that is my mock draft during free agency. A lot of changes. This was an interesting one. This was a lot of fun to do. I absolutely love doing these mock drafts for you guys. I hope you enjoyed. And I will see you in the next one. Take it easy.